Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
You made it to Friday, and we're in spring officially, 100%. Cherry Festival going. How's your bracket? I only got 2 games wrong yesterday. And, of course, I've got Michigan going all the way to win the championship. Good morning. It's O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 6:35, Cori DeAngelis will join us, who was there at the White House as Donald Trump fulfilled, as to the best of his ability, the promise to dismantle the Department of Education. Now it's in Congress's hands. And that'll lead us to 7:35 with Representative Michael Rowley of Ohio, who is working on legislation that will do just that. And then at 8:35, our pal Mally. You know, I'm hoping Mally will join us too, but today we just have Molly Hemingway from the Federalist and Fox News. That'll be Molly Hemingway. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning, Larry. Happy Friday. It is a Friday. We made it. And I don't know what brackets you're talking about. I just went right over my head.
Yeah, what is wrong with you? I said the same thing with Julie yesterday. It's like, well, how do your brackets look? Who do you got in the Final Four? It's like I'm talking German.
Final Four
to
of
people.
what?
It's,
the apocalypse?
Everybody. It's the NCAA basketball tournament.
Oh.
It's kind of a big deal.
Well, listen.
Even people who know nothing about college basketball.
Our household is a football and a football household. So now there's an international break, and there's an international break. So I get a break from sports other than kids soccer in the week. So I'm going to take it. I'm not watching any soccer games. I'm catching up on everything else.
I am suspicious of people who only follow international soccer.
I follow American football too. NFL.
I'm almost as suspicious. This is more of a red flag. This is almost as big a red flag as what we're learning about this former employee at the Kennedy Center who was just fired yesterday.
Okay.
Tavish Forsyth.
What a name.
Previously, it's quite a name. Previously, an associate artistic lead at the Washington National Opera's Opera Institute was fired. Why? Why, you may ask? Mm-hmm. Well, you'll see some headlines who will say that this guy was fired because he posted a video complaining about Trump taking over the Kennedy Center, opposing Rick Grinnell as the acting executive director. You will see people reporting this story just saying, wow, this is a freedom of speech thing. See, he doesn't like the new management at the Kennedy Center, and so they fired him for that. And you couldn't be more wrong. It is true. Let me just lay out the facts.
Uh-huh.
He did post a video.
Yes.
He posted a video on YouTube. The video is 35 minutes long. It is a spoken word poem of protest, which you've got to love.
Okay.
Against the changes at the Kennedy Center. Mm-hmm. And against Rick Grinnell, against Donald Trump. You're right. And by the way, this video played a part in him being fired. That is correct as well. What is not being reported, and is a pretty important element to this story, is that said 35-minute spoken word poem protest video, Patrice, was performed in the nude.
Oh, he was naked? What?
Completely butt naked. And wait for it, his role at the Kennedy Center was to work on children's programs.
Oh, okay. That disgusting. Pedo alert. Pedo alert. That's the bells are ringing here. Whatever bells are jingling. It's disgusting.
That's not the only thing that was jingling. I was about to say Mr. Forsyth, but now I have found out that his staff bio lists his pronouns as they, them. So Messrs. Forsyth. I'm trying to keep to the plural. Messrs. Forsyth, all of them. Also faculty member at Johns Hopkins University. It's obviously a disturbing video that if you are engaged in, and by the way, if Johns Hopkins wants to keep this person on, who identifies as queer, and is obviously an incredibly talented poet, because I could do a 35-minute spoken word monologue. I can do it in prose, but certainly not in poetry. I wonder if it was a limerick. You can do that, but I just think that if your job is to interact with children on a regular basis and engaging with students as part of the education division at the Kennedy Center's National Opera Institute, maybe you shouldn't present yourself in the buff.
Yeah.
And have this sort of pornographic, sexually explicit thing. Rick Grinnell, by the way, has commented on this firing and said this behavior will not be knowingly funded by the Kennedy Center. Today, them were fired. So there you go.
You know, it's so interesting. So Common Dreams, which is a lefty rag, online rag here, it takes more, is more concerned or more upset about President Trump than about the naked Kennedy Center staffer. This is their headline. Naked Kennedy Center staffer rips villainous liar Trump and Nazi wannabe Musk. I guess they're kind of quoting some of what was said in this performance. It's so interesting. They focus on the bigoted attacks against racial, religious, and sexual minorities, as though this gives this quote artist a right to do something so totally disrespectful, distasteful, and inappropriate. And you have to wonder if he's done things like this around children. I mean, is he promoting his own social media platform when he's coordinating these drag show performances with kids and with parents so that he can build his following, so that then he can flash himself in front of the eyes of innocent children? But the left is going to protect him. Why? Because he represents what they are right now: angry, out of control, have lost their marbles, and will do whatever it takes to go viral against President Trump and against Elon Musk, regardless of how inappropriate it is and maybe even illegal.
Students today are pretty tech savvy. I think it's fair to say they all have their own devices. You're doing a student-oriented opera outreach program at Kennedy Center. You're engaging with a guy named Forsyth, named Forsyth. At some point, one of those students is probably going to Google the dude or see if he's got a YouTube channel. Click on the YouTube channel, and there's Mr. Mrs. Them Forsyth completely naked. It's there are certain standards. There are certain standards when you're working with children.
Yes.
There are certain standards when you're working for a government program, and there should be certain standards of conduct and behavior when you're working at the crown jewel of American performing arts, the exquisite, brilliant, beautiful Kennedy Center. This person should have been fired from whatever institution they work for, and certainly from the Kennedy Center. And that's a happy ending, if I may, on that one. The Kennedy Center seems to be moving in the right direction under top dog, Ambassador Rick Grinnell. It's 5:15 WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives.
WMAL, making sense of the news, live from.
We have a little audio from the video in question.
Oh, fun.
Let's take a listen real fast, and then I'll describe what's going on in the video as best I can within the confines of our
in a
FCC
PG-13.
license here.
Yeah.
Here's what it sounds like.
Trump has taken over the Kennedy Center, and that's a place where I work. He has vowed to ban drag performers from its stages, and as the saying goes, we're all born naked, and the rest is drag. In this episode, I'm going to talk about whether or not I should quit. I'm going to ask, does staying make me a collaborator or somehow complicit in a hostile government takeover that's systematically targeting the livelihood and liberty of poor people, queer people, black, brown people, people of color, immigrants, Muslims, victims in war-torn countries, ethnic cleansing, women, and gosh, when I put it that way, it seems obvious. Donald Trump and the Kennedy Center.
So, listen, you're an employee of the federal government. If you want to talk like that, go ahead and talk like that. Although, not real wise. Our company that we work for, Patrice, has a CEO. It would be folly and unwise. And by the way, tacky, inappropriate, and classless, even if I had a beef with our CEO, to go on the airwaves and criticize her.
And bash her,
in such a way. I mean, listen, there are radio hosts who have done that, and, God bless them if that's what they choose to do with their careers. I don't. Not because I'd be afraid to be fired, but because I want to show some class, okay? So at the very least, but by the way, if I did it, I would know that I was risking my employment.
That's right, you are. Yeah.
Add to that the fact. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm getting a sneezing attack in the middle of this. It's because I'm very nervous whenever I see a naked man. I watched the video that goes along with that audio, Patrice. Absolutely butt naked. All the bits and pieces showing every single.
Yeah, everything that God gave him. Yes. Or they, them, whatever this
Every
person...
punctuation mark is available for your eyes to see. And it's, by the way, posted on X. I do love this. They all hate Elon Musk, but they love putting their content on his social media platform.
So for those who need a little bit of background about this Tavish guy, I did some research on him. Apparently, he owns a company called Bird City Improv.com. Bird City
Excuse me.
Improv.
I'm so sorry. I don't want to get canceled, and I don't want you to be canceled. You did some investigation and research on them.
I said, I'm going by what God gave him, and so he's a queer artist. He's a professor. He has this company that actually teaches and deals with not just some kids through the Kennedy Center, but kids throughout the area. He's based in Baltimore City, and he is the founder, as I mentioned, of Bird City Improv, where they teach classes at this Centers for Creative Classrooms. He's working with different education systems in our area, and so for those who hear about their kids going to learn about improv from somebody who is queer, maybe ask the school whether they are working with Bird City Improv, because the founder and the center of that company is, we now know, I think it's fair to say, putting out pedo vibes. And so, listen, this person, it really makes you wonder why so many of these individuals love to get access to our children. And to use their talents. He says his talents is improvisation, but use their talents not just to shape the minds of kids, but to expose the minds of kids to their lifestyles. I'm trying to bring it full circle, because this is not just a guy making a rant about the Kennedy Centers being taken over by President Trump. It is a guy who has access to our children and is trying to drive down his message in lots of different ways.
Yeah, so when you see the headlines that this guy was fired because he criticized Trump and criticized Grinnell and is part of the resistance at the Kennedy Center, if they don't mention the fact that he delivered his 35-minute rhyming monologue against Grinnell at Kennedy Center and Trump in the complete nude, butt naked, full frontal, with everything, there's no denying he's a biological male. They are a biological male. Because we saw all of them there. If they're leaving that part out, they're not delivering news to you. They're delivering something very different. It's 5:21. As if you haven't had enough of our recently dismissed Kennedy Center employee who just put out a 35-minute completely butt-naked nude video with their they-them pronouns out there for the world to see. I saw every single possible they-them pronoun flashing before my eyes.
Yeah.
I want you to also hear that there may be some other reasons why this person was dismissed that were revealed in this video, and it has nothing to do with criticism of Donald Trump or Rick Grinnell or the new decisions being made at the Kennedy Center. Let's cut right to cut 3 here. Take a listen to this. Maybe you can, if you read between the lines, you might be able to decipher the other reason why this person was just fired. Yeah, listen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tavish, and I feel angry and confused. I'm one of the creative directors serving on the leadership team at the Kennedy Center's Opera Institute, a federally funded 3-week program for the next generation of vocalists. As a leader, I help to radicalize this program by facilitating community dialogue circles, building community through games, journaling, mindful practice. I lead playwriting workshops and improvisational jam sessions where learners tell and co-create original stories and songs. Now, for those of you that know me, you know that I don't sing. Well, I do sing, I love to sing, I can sing, but I do not have classical music training, let alone experience on the operatic stage. And yes, I told them all of this when they hired me 2 years ago. In fact, I was actively self-sabotaging myself in the interview because I just couldn't believe an opera company wanted to work with me.
Basically, he's saying, I have no skills to do this job and am not really qualified. I have no idea why they hired me in the first place.
It's telling. But like I said, I read you his bio. He's not qualified. I mean, unless it's to inculcate children with the ideas of a lifestyle that, is different and edgy and maybe make some fun jokes. But other than that, he's not bringing, listen, I don't know what he brings to the table. But it's whatever he brings is what they wanted, apparently. Not anymore.
But not anymore. Not anymore. There are plenty of other institutions without my tax dollars that can hire you, and you won't be at the Crown Jewel Showcase of American Performing Arts. Bye-bye to all three of you, they, thems. 520.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
And now it's 5:36. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company. Later in the program, we're going to cover everything going on with the executive order dismantling the Department of Education. We'll start at 6:35 with Cori DeAngelis. We'll then flip to the House of Representatives, where, the ball's in their court. At 7:35, we'll talk to Congressman Michael Rowley of Ohio, who wants to propose legislation that will officially put a stake in the heart of the DOE. And then at 8:35, Molly Hemingway will join us. She's got some opinions about all these judges, circuit court judges, deciding that, not even circuit court, district judges, deciding that they have more power than the president. That's a funny kind of constitution. Molly Hemingway at 8:35. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. And I'm still wearing my green for Irish for St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day.
You're looking all St. Patrick's Day here.
I gotcha.
Instead of your usual signature pink.
I gotcha.
That you like to put out. Have you taken a new selfie for social media for today's show?
I will do so.
Because now we've revealed what you're wearing, and if you use a recycled picture
so.
from a past show. All right, thank you. I'm very
Larry,
worried
who
about
says I recycle pictures? Thank you very much.
Okay. Maybe recycle is not the right word. You have a...
I have a cache of many wonderful photos, but I very often
you have many photos at your disposal that at any given time you can put out that lets everyone know that you're in studio. All right. Even though sometimes it's not what you're wearing. It's like weird. I'll see it on Twitter, and then I'll turn to my left and wait a minute. What?
Turning to the news of the day. For those who don't follow at Patrice Pink File, please do. But turning to the news of the day.
If you watch CNN and MSNBC, and actually the broadcast numbers as well, I've seen Today's Show and Good Morning America have these stories about how Republicans are getting inundated with protests at town halls. You know, the narrative they're trying to set up here is that this is not what people wanted. This is not what people voted for. When they gave Trump power, they wanted lower prices. Which, by the way, they have now. Notice how they're not talking about egg prices anymore.
The inflation rate is falling. Eggs are falling. Yes, absolutely, it's true.
Yes, eggs are falling.
Egg prices are falling, to be more specific. Yes.
Thank you. I didn't want to get all cracked up over that one. The yoke's on us. So that's the narrative that they want, and they have these viral videos that are orchestrated of people going. There was one at Congresswoman Hageman. She's the Wyoming Congresswoman, an incredibly red state. She's the one who defeated Liz Cheney in the primary by 40 points, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we are to believe that Republicans in Wyoming went to her town hall and started chanting January 6th, January 6th. And we're outraged at the Department of Government Efficiency cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. It was obviously an orchestrated, planned left-wing attack, what's called AstroTurf, right? Yes. AstroTurf. And the reason they call it AstroTurf is because, look, it's the grassroots. No, there's no roots. There's no grass. It's fake grass. It's AstroTurf. So that's been the obvious fact. Yesterday, Chuck Schumer, who was under fire, Democrats hate him right now because he led this fight to shut down the government last week and then immediately turned around and left everybody hanging, right?
Yes.
And said, forget about it. We're not going to fight. Well, yesterday on PBS, he admitted that the Democrats are organizing and funding these so-called protests in Republican districts. Take a listen to cut 4 out of his own mouth. Here he is.
We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences. This is a long, relentless fight that we fight every day. And I am confident that we will bring Trump's popularity, numbers, and strength down if we keep at it and keep at it and keep at it.
See that, and that's all he's interested in doing is bringing down Trump's popularity. And how are they doing it? They're organizing these protests to put the pressure on Republicans. And he specifically said we're going into Republican districts in New York. Here's one of those congressmen, cut 6, Mike Lawler of New York on CNN.
Let me just make a point, okay? As a member that is in a swing district, okay, I have and continue to do in-person events, including today, where I was protested by climate activists, okay? They showed up, barged into a private luncheon with the Rockland Business Association and screamed and yelled for 5 minutes and then finally left. But Chuck Schumer went on the airwaves multiple times now, including today, and said, we are organizing to send protesters up to Republican districts here in New York, including mine. And they have been working, the Democratic Party, along with activist organization, including Indivisible, to organize and mobilize voters both within the district and outside.
Mike, that was the whole
auditorium.
And everybody sees right through it, Patrice. It's obvious. And here's Chuck Schumer begging to keep his job, saying, hey, guys, I'm part of the resistance. Look at what we're doing. We're organized. And so basically, in a desperate attempt to appease the radicals in his party, he's now admitted out loud that it's all phony. It's all trumped up and paid for by the Democrats.
Well, so if you listen very closely, this is what they're trying to get. Is you mentioned the perception, and it plays out in the approval ratings. We're now seeing that President Trump's approval ratings across a number of different polls, and ironically, they're all a number of these outlets are reporting it this morning. That he's negative in some polls. By negative, they mean that he's 49% approve of his the handling of his job right now, compared to when he was in the above 50%. This is about creating enough ill will that regular people who are not showing up to these town halls, who actually do support the DOGE cuts and the reduction of size of the federal government and the immigration policies, will start to think, oh, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe my neighbors, they have it right. They're the ones when they disapprove of President Trump, then that's going to help. Then I should jump on that bandwagon. And these Democrats are looking not just to right now. They know that the runway into 2020. What are we in 2025 right now? 2026 is going to get shorter and shorter. So they want to sink as much as possible Americans' perceptions of President Trump, hoping that will have a long-term impact on the 2026 midterm elections. Here's the funny part. Republicans, their approval ratings are going higher and higher, Republicans in Congress. So listen, I think people will start to see through this. It's important that if you see this astroturfing, you call it out. I would love for some of the reporters on the ground to ask those protesters, where are you from? Can I see an ID? To see if their driver's license matches with the district of where they're protesting, or whether they've been flown in from California, New York, some of Chicago, some of these different left-leaning cities and states. But this is about changing perceptions. And really what's going to have a bigger impact when people feel the price reductions, the price disinflation, when they feel that every day, when they're no longer paying over $5 for a carton of eggs, and in some places they probably are paying now $4 and change. So that's really going to have a bigger, stronger pushback.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, I thought there was a fire sale at the Tesla dealership. Turns out the Democrats had firebombed it. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
Hey, remember Cori Bush? She was one of the squad members there.
Yes.
She represented one of the districts there in Ferguson, basically. She got elected after all of the lies about Big Mike Brown there, who attacked a police officer, and police officer had to shoot him in self-defense. But she got elected because people took to the streets and started rioting and burning things down. So you elect someone like Cori Bush. Cori Bush, of course, lost her primary this last year because she was even too radical for her district outside of St. Louis. Well, now her husband has been indicted by
Yikes.
a federal grand jury over a PPP COVID scheme.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Courtney Merritt, 46 years old, charged in a federal indictment Thursday with 2 counts of wire fraud related to fraudulent applications he filed with the Small Business Administration in 2020 and 2021 that allowed him to collect and never repay government funds from the pandemic-era Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Paycheck Protection Program. You remember the PPP.
PPP, yes.
This is from Victor Nava's reporting at Washington Free Beacon. The day after receiving the EIDL loan, which of course they call it a loan, but it was you never had to repay it.
Yeah.
Merritt filed another application with SBA through the same program for a different business, which he identified only as Courtney Merritt's. Didn't identify him as his as the husband of Cori Bush. Of course, claimed it employed 10 people and generated $53,000 of revenue. D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office claims Merritt lied about the number of employees he had and his revenues, and he claimed the business, and he kept filing for these loans for different companies, all under the name of his name, claiming he had this many employees and that many employees, and we make this much money and that much money, and ultimately his job was just to be a congresswoman's husband. He didn't have any of these businesses, according to the indictment.
Well, let's not forget Cori Bush. About a year ago, she was under federal investigation by the Justice Department because of campaign spending on security services. She had retained her husband, she claimed, who she had married the year prior, to provide security for her. She claimed that he had a business, that he was protecting her, that, because of Republicans, those evil Republicans, she needed protection, and she was getting all of these death threats, and, he was the right person, the right man to head up her security team. And even the federal government at that time found that her using campaign funds to pretty much pay her husband for non-existent services was not right. So listen, Cori Bush was doing some shady business, and now we see just how much shady business her husband was doing. I look forward to more of these lawmakers, their tea being spilled, because I think a lot of people abused the PPP system at the time and then were railing against conservatives and Republicans as though they themselves didn't have their hand in the kitty.
Yeah, and by the way, Ed Martin, who is the new U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, having been placed in that position by the new incoming President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, they announced this yesterday through his office. One wonders if his predecessor under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland was going to bring charges against this man, whether the investigation was even being conducted robustly under the former Democrat-appointed U.S. attorney. This is, the American people crave some accountability here. This isn't about political vengeance. This isn't about punishing anyone. If you're a corrupt politician, you should face the consequences, no matter what letter is after your name. But there was just a real absence. The only Democrat that ever faced any kind of criminal investigation was Mayor Eric Adams in New York, and that only happened when he became an outspoken critic of Joe Biden and his immigration policies.
Yeah, funny how that happens. Well, listen, it's a long time in coming. Cori Bush was a piece of work, and the constituents said, no, we don't want more of her. But like I said, I think there are more shoes to drop when it comes to all of that PPP COVID fraud. And I'm looking forward to
You keep saying
next.
PPP.
PPP, well, yeah.
PPP.
It was 3 Ps.
No, I know. It's just funny to hear you say it. I mean,
the Paycheck
we're all
Protection
done
Program.
talking about the naked man talking about the Kennedy Center, okay?
Larry,
So just
no,
get the
let's
PPP out of your
refocus
mind.
our
It's
minds.
5:53.